Welcome to Retirement Decoded with your host, Scott Tucker, where we break down the complexities of retirement planning to give you clear, actionable advice. Whether you're just starting out or getting ready to retire, Scott's here to help you make informed decisions and secure your financial future. Tune in each week as we simplify the process and decode the path to a stress-free retirement. Now, here's your host, Scott Tucker.
Welcome back to the Retirement Decoded podcast with Scott Tucker. I'm your host, Scott Tucker, and my trusty sidekick on the podcast, as almost always, is Associate Advisor Andre Hootie. Say hello, Andre Hootie.
Hello, Andre Hootie.
Andre Hootie, we take the folks, I was going to say the listeners. Yeah, we take the listeners' questions, although they arrive at the Scott Tucker Solutions Studios in written form. Today we have a question from Becky. Becky writes the podcast. She says, Scott, my husband will max out his 457B this year. Andre, what the heck is a 457B? Is that some kind of a bomber?
No, it is not. It's if you've ever heard of 401ks, 403Bs, TSPs, it's all in that same realm. It's a tax-deferred retirement account is what that is. You've never paid taxes on that money.
You know, there's wrinkles. You're correct, and of course, as you always are, but there are some wrinkles to that too. So Becky says, Scott and Andre, my husband will max out his 457B, which is a deferred comp plan, as you say, this year. Something that I know you know this too, Andre. Something that's funny about 457Bs, they have come out with a Roth version of them. So there's a Roth deferred comp, which really, when you think about it, your 401k or 403B or your TSP, thrift savings plan, those are all really deferred comp. When you put money in a 401k, it's really, and you do it in a traditional side, it's always deferred. It's a deferred comp.
Right.
What they have, so now they have Roth 401ks, right, Andre?
Exactly.
And then they have Roth 403Bs.
Yeah.
And they even have Roth TSP. And now, not to be left out, the 457B, now they have a Roth 457B in many plans.
Oh, well, they have to get on the bandwagon, right?
Well, I hope so. Well, it's good. It's a good deal.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I'm happy that they are because we really don't see them as often as we should have.
Yeah, we ought to see them. We ought to see them a lot more. Yeah. So a 457B is usually offered for it's for a government employee. It could be a state trooper. It could be a city fireman or firefolk. We get hate mail whenever I say fireman, Andre.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, firefolk, fireperson.
That might be the politically correct term.
Fire battler, fireman. Firefighter, fireman. The whole woke stuff drives me nuts. So Becky says, my husband will max out his 457B or deferred comp plan this year. So we see the 457B, the deferred comp. We usually see it with, the most common one we see is firefighters, firemen. We do see it with police officers. We see it with all sorts of government employees, but really you see a lot of that. Yeah. I should mention we are in Chicago, but we're federally licensed, so we can help you wherever you are, so long as you're an American and not an American, right, Andre?
Exactly. You
just have to be in the U.S. somewhere. We have Zoom and DocuSign and FedEx and all that stuff, and we help people all over the country. So Becky says, I know I can deposit the max into it. Okay, so she's shifting gears on us, Andre. So Becky says, my husband will max out his 457B deferred comp this year. And then Becky says, I know I can deposit the max into a Roth account because we're under the IRS income limits, but can he do so as well? Andre, so you know this, you're nodding and everything. So Becky, your husband can max out the 457B at work. It's an employer plan, okay? Then he can, quote unquote, come home. And let's even throw the IRS limits away on how much you can make to do because I think it'd be more helpful to other listeners too. So get rid of the whole how much we make. Can we do a Roth IRA? To keep you out of any trouble at all, let's have your husband max out the 457B deferred comp at work. But have him also ask, is there a Roth option for new money in the 457B? So what I'd really like is him to max out the Roth 457B at work. Then I'd like him to come home and max out his traditional IRA, and then one day later Roth convert it and pay the federal income tax.
Yep.
And then Becky, what I would like you to do is, if you have, I don't know if you have a job or an employer plan or whatever you have, if you have an employer plan, do the same thing. Max out the Roth version of the 401k, and if you can't do that, okay, let's do the traditional 401k. But then, quote unquote, come home, max out your. So you say you have a 401k, Becky, max out a Roth 401k at work, come home, max out a traditional IRA at home. So your 401k at work is an employer plan. Your IRA, you can do both. So you can come home and do a traditional IRA, then a day later Roth convert it. This way, you never have to worry about the Roth maximums and earnings limits and things, and it just, you accomplish the same thing.
Yeah, because especially if you're right next to that limit, then it's just it's so tedious to go figure out every little expense, every deduction, every this and that, and then you have to really be careful to not go over, because then if you do, then it's more paperwork. You have to go recharacterize, pull things.
Well, then the recharacterizing is gone by the wayside. Yeah, you don't want any blowback from the IRS.
Yeah, you just
right?
don't. Make your life easier, and like Scott mentioned, just put it into the traditional IRA.
Yeah, so it's sort of like when you're, Andre, I always drive the speed limit in my GMC Sierra, the V8. But say if I want to be real careful, I could get out, and maybe I don't. So I get out on the highway and get my motor running. So I can set my cruise control to make sure I don't go over the speed limit. Mm-hmm. And that would be like doing the checking the income limits before putting money into the Roth IRA at home, right?
Yeah.
Or what if there were a nifty way that I could go 10 over the speed limit and not get a ticket? Well, that might be the traditional IRA and the backdoor Roth conversion a day later.
Exactly.
Not an advocation of exceeding any speed limits or doing any kind of stuff. I was just trying to think of an analogy maybe that could further confuse the listener, like Becky or anybody else. Yeah, so that's something a lot of people miss, though, isn't it? I'm glad Becky asked. A lot of people miss that the 457, any of the plans that start with 4, or if it's a TSP, a thrift savings plan for our federal workers, a lot of people miss that they can max out the work plan. A lot of people miss, too, Andre, that there might be a Roth option in their plan. A lot of these employer plans have added a Roth option for new money, and they didn't tell anybody, or people missed the memo.
Yeah, and even when they do log in, because I've seen this with some of our clients, even when they log into their plan, that Roth option is always hidden, like on some back page.
Well, here's the sinister conspiracy theory, too, Andre. If the employer uses the traditional 401k, they pay less in payroll taxes. So then if the Roth, they pay more in payroll tax. There's a whole long thing. I'd have to get out the whiteboard, and that would make sense on a podcast. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of Roth options have gotten added to plans, and people just haven't got the memo because you're busy doing what you do, right, Becky? Or your husband's busy doing what he does. So yeah, but that's another tip, though. A lot of folks will say, Andre, I make too much to contribute to a Roth IRA at home. Au contraire, mon frere. Is that French? I think so.
I think that's French.
Pretty sure. Yep. I took French in middle school and high school. It didn't take me. So so you don't make too much to put into a Roth IRA. So you might make too much to put into a Roth IRA via contribution. Doesn't mean you make too much to do it via conversion. Mm-hmm. So you can max out the traditional IRA at home, and then a day later do a Roth conversion, and you end up with the same result.
Exactly.
That's sneaky stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, those backdoor Roth conversions. That's
what people are always complaining about, those fat cats, right? Like Becky, that they're doing them backdoor Roths.
Well, you have to get creative, right? It's and it's important to save for your retirement and plan.
And maybe another example helps too, Becky. So what I do at Scott Tucker Solutions Inc., we have a Roth 401k as one of our options. I'm over 50 years of age, so I can do more than Andre's not. He's under 50 years of age, and so he can't put as much into the Roth 401k as I can, because I can do the catch-up thingy majiggers. So I max out on the Roth 401k, and then the company matches me 6%, but the company match has to go to traditional 401k. There's a big, long reason why. It has to do with a whole bunch of tax stuff and IRS stuff. And then so I get to max out as an employee on the Roth 401k. The company matches me 6%, but on the traditional side of the 401k, I then go home, so to speak, and I don't want to monkey around with the earnings limits and stuff, and I make too much to do a Roth IRA anyway at home. So then, because in the employer plan, there's no income limitations. At home, there are on the Roth IRA. So instead of doing the whole Roth IRA thing or trying to figure out how to wiggle in there, I don't even bother. I do the traditional IRA contribution. A day later, I do the Roth conversion. I end up with that backdoor Roth. So Andre, that's how the fat cats do it too, right?
Yep.
The fat cats have better tricks than that, but there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, and just a fair warning, if anybody is going to go try and do this themselves, you may want to talk to somebody first, but just be aware that if you're going to try and do Roth conversions, the last week in December, because they do have to be done by the end of the year.
Don't wait till the end of the year to do those.
Yeah, they won't be processed if you just try and do that, the day before New Year's or something.
That is a good point, because that's what happens every year. People wait. You probably, you got to do the conversion the day after, like I said, or a week after, a month after, something like that. But if you get to where it's getting towards the end of the year, we tend to tell folks, if it's Labor Day, start thinking about doing those conversions. If it's Halloween, you might be getting to where it's too late. So think about that between Labor Day and Halloween. If you're going to put it off all year, do it in that window. Don't put it off further, because then we always have people, they wait till Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's, and they expect the folks at Schwab, Fidelity, and whoever else to be, keep the light on for you like it's Motel 6, and do your Roth conversion when they have no staff and everybody's at home with Santa Claus.
Yeah, and it's and even this year, or most years, I think Schwab asks before, by the first week of December, get everything into them, because
that's too late.
Well, yeah, even then if
we have a client listen to this and they pull that crap in the first week of December, I'm gonna blame you.
Well, even then, but Schwab tells us, we can't promise that even if you get it to us in that first week,
we'll
get it to you.
Andre, what were the goalposts I just set out for folks? You're moving the goalposts. I said Labor Day to Halloween.
Well, that's the perfect timing. I agree with you.
There you go. If not earlier.
Oh, no, 100%
but
earlier.
I'm trying to get folks out of this idea. So here's the deal. More than half of baby boomers are retired right now.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the places baby boomers used to work are places like Schwab, Fidelity, and the rest.
Yeah.
So don't expect that and we're seeing these companies, all of them, I don't care who it is, they are moving further and further towards automation.
Oh, yeah.
And more than half the baby boomers have retired, including the people who used to work at Schwab, Fidelity, and the rest. More and more automation, many times harder to get things done or harder to get help or an explanation on anything. And then what happens is a lot of these companies, they allow the employees to save up their time per year. So November, December, that's when everybody wants to go on vacation. They want to take a week off for Thanksgiving because they have to buy a pumpkin pie at Jewel Osco. Right? It takes a week to make Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe a week to digest it. Then somebody wants to take a week off or 2 weeks off at Christmas because they have to like clean out their basement, put up a tree, buy toys for their sister's brat kids, whatever it is they got to do for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then it's New Year's. Now I can't work on New Year's because I'm hungover because I went out on New Year's Eve. Like people now are like, oh, it's the holidays. I need to take 3 months off, right?
Yeah.
So fewer workers in the workplace, and there's also the whole procrastination thing where you got to think about all the other knuckleheads that are procrastinating. Don't be the least of the procrastinator of the knuckleheads, because everybody wants to put off their required minimum distribution. Same people that are processing things like Roth conversions are also processing paperwork on things like required minimum distributions for traditional tax deferred accounts for people that are in their 70s and beyond. So that's all going through one funnel, and the funnel is narrower than it's ever been.
Yeah, and it's usually one department. Like I've been at these places. It's the retirement department that has 10 people there. It's like, the company
which now has 5 people.
Yeah, the company might have 1,000 employees, but half of them don't know how to process these things. So it's a very specific group of people. So
because this paperwork has tax ramifications, and it has all kinds of special rules. So Becky's tired of us already, isn't she? If you're tired of us, why don't you go check out our phone calendar? Get even more tired of us. You can get our phone calendar. We'll spend 15 minutes for free with you. Over the telephone, we'll get your questions answered, your answers questioned. We can really go in depth on your questions and concerns and guide you through this stuff. We don't charge anything for that. Just go to tuckerretirement.com. At tuckerretirement.com, you can see our phone calendar. You can click and pick a time, and then we'll spend 15 minutes for free with you over the telephone in the coming week. Well, you've listened to yet another episode of Retirement Decoded with Scott Tucker. I'm your host, Scott Tucker, and that was the voice of Andre Hootie, Associate Advisor. We'll talk to you on the next episode.
Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. has a strategic partnership with tax professionals and attorneys who can provide tax and or legal advice. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions. A Roth conversion is a taxable event and may have several tax-related consequences. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. The views and opinions herein are those of Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of AE Wealth Management, LLC. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AEWM and Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this podcast shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Scott Tucker Solutions, Inc.